Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We always try to highlight interesting companies here, and today we're going to be talking about QLR Technology Group. This one's really been catching my eye
Yeah.
lately, and I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Oh, absolutely.
So QLR stock has been on a wild ride.
It has.
Big surge recently, 327%. It peaked around 90 cents and settled back down.
Yeah,
It's a little crazy, right?
it is. And, it's definitely caught the attention of a lot of investors. And what I find really interesting is that QLR is involved in some really important tech, like battery safety and thermal management.
Okay.
Those are essential in industries that are only getting bigger, electric vehicles, aerospace.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
And it looks like they're making some pretty good money, too.
Yeah.
Their latest earnings report shows a 73.56% jump in revenue over the past 3 years, reaching almost $10 million.
Yeah. No, that top line growth is definitely a positive sign.
Oh, we got
But, we always have to look at the whole picture. They also have a net loss of $20 million and negative EBITDA, which was around negative $14 million. So basically, they're spending more than they're making.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So they're making more money than ever, but still losing millions?
Yeah.
How does that even work?
Yeah, it does raise some questions, and it, makes you think about their path to profitability. But one thing that really stood out to me when I was looking at their financials was their gross profit margin,
Okay.
which sits at a healthy 41.5%. And that means that they're actually making a decent profit on each product they sell. The challenge seems to be that they have other expenses that are just eating into those profits.
Okay, so their products are profitable,
Yeah,
but something else is going wrong somewhere.
exactly.
Okay, and what about their partnerships? I mean, they're working with some major players in the automotive industry.
They are.
These are big names
Absolutely.
who are really going all in on electric vehicles.
Yeah, and those partnerships are one of the big reasons why investors are so excited about QLR. But, it's also likely contributing to the stock's volatility. The market really loves the idea that these collaborations could turn into huge revenue streams, but it's still, it's a little bit of a gamble.
I see, so it's like a high-risk, high-reward kind of situation.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, it makes you wonder what these partnerships really look like.
Yeah.
Are they just supplying parts, or are they more deeply involved? There was that report about KULR's work with one specific electric car manufacturer.
Right. And what's really interesting about that report is that it kind of suggests that KULR isn't just like a parts supplier.
Okay.
They're actually becoming really important to electric vehicle safety design,
Oh,
Their thermal management technology could be the solution to a really big concern for consumers, which is battery fires.
right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That could be a game changer.
So they're solving a real problem with technology these big companies need.
Yeah.
But how does that actually help their bottom line?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
Their financials suggest they still have a long way to go, but if they can successfully get their technology integrated into these big player supply chains, the potential is massive.
Okay, so huge potential, but their cash reserves are pretty low, right? Their latest report shows only about $912,000 in cash on hand and a negative working capital of $1.2 million.
Yeah. And that's definitely something to consider.
I mean, that's got to be concerning, right?
It is, because you have to think of working capital as the money they have readily available to pay bills and, just run the business day to day. So negative working capital means they might struggle to keep up with their expenses, particularly if those partnerships don't start generating serious revenue pretty soon.
So they're burning through cash, but they're also investing in new technologies.
Yeah.
And one of the ones you highlighted was the KLR Zero Vibe, or KXV.
Right.
What is that all about?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So the KXV technology is designed to reduce vibrations, and it uses the NVIDIA Jetson AI platform, which opens up all kinds of possibilities for KULR. We're talking data centers, wind turbines, maybe even Bitcoin mining.
Wow, that's a pretty diverse portfolio.
It is.
It seems like they're spreading themselves kind of thin, though. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's the real question, isn't it?
Right.
Diversifying can be smart, but only if you have the resources and the focus to do it effectively.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're hedging their bets.
Right.
If one market doesn't work out, maybe another one will.
So what do we make of all this? We've got this company with really cool, cutting-edge tech in a high-growth market, but their finances are a little shaky, and they're jumping into a bunch of different industries.
It's a classic high-risk, high-reward situation.
Right.
But before we make any decisions about investing in KULR, let's talk about some of the potential roadblocks they might face.
Okay, sounds good.
You're right to be cautious. One of the biggest hurdles for any tech company, particularly one like KULR that's still trying to find its footing, is competition.
Right, they're not the only ones in the battery safety and thermal management space, are they?
Exactly.
And you would think with this kind of technology, patents would be a big deal. And I remember you mentioned something about KULR's patent portfolio.
Yeah, having strong IP protection is really important in this industry.
Yeah.
But patents are only as good as their enforceability.
Oh, right.
It's one thing to have a patent, it's a whole other thing to defend it, especially against competitors with a lot of money.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of money, you highlighted a report about KULR's management team,
Yeah.
and I mentioned that they have a mix of experienced executives and some newer faces.
Yeah, and having experienced leadership is really important in a volatile industry like this.
Right.
But it also made me wonder if they have the right mix of experience to handle not just the technology side of things, but also the financial challenges they're dealing with.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you also flagged some reports that suggested that KULR is looking at getting some additional funding.
Exactly. That's a critical piece of the puzzle here, but
Yeah.
what kind of funding are we talking about?
Hmm.
You know, taking on more debt could really hurt them in the long run.
Right. Yeah.
If they can secure strategic investment from partners who really believe in their vision, that could be a game changer.
So it's not just about the money. It's about the strategic fit and the long-term goals.
Exactly. And, we can't forget about the bigger economic picture.
Right.
The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are at record highs, which is great for the market, but that doesn't mean we're safe from a downturn.
That's true. A sudden change in the economy could really hit a company like KULR hard, especially with their low cash reserves.
Absolutely. Even if their technology is amazing and their partnerships are strong, they're still operating in a world where the economy can have a big impact.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's try to put all this together. What's the bottom line for someone who's thinking about investing in KULR?
Based on your research, I'd say this KULR is a company with huge potential. They're addressing a really important need in a rapidly growing market. They're working with some of the biggest names in the industry and developing some truly exciting technology.
No,
But
there's a but.
there is a big but.
Okay.
They're facing some serious financial challenges.
Right.
Their path to profitability is still uncertain, and they're in a very competitive landscape.
So it really depends on how much risk an investor is willing to take.
Exactly. And that's where the research that you've done comes in. You've really dug deep into their financials, their partnerships, their management team, the technology.
Yeah.
You've even looked at the broader market trends, things that could really impact their future.
Right.
So now it's time to ask yourself the tough questions. Do you really believe in their long-term vision? Are you comfortable with the level of risk? And I think most importantly, does QLR actually fit into your overall investment strategy?
Right. That's a good point. I mean, these are questions that only I can answer.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully our conversation today has given you the information and the insights you need to at least start thinking about it.
Absolutely. So we've explored some pretty exciting opportunities,
We have.
but also some potential pitfalls of investing in a company like KULR Technology Group.
Yeah, it's definitely a company that's really pushing the boundaries when it comes to innovation, but they're also dealing with a very complex and competitive landscape.
Yeah, for sure. So ultimately, the decision of whether or not to invest in KULR is up to me.
It is.
But, we always encourage our listeners to keep learning, keep researching, and keep engaging with the world of investing.
Absolutely.
And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on KULR, or what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, and what are your predictions? Where do you think they're headed?
Leave a comment below, share your insights, and let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brings us to the end of another episode Investing Talk Podcast. Thanks for joining us on this look into KULR Technology Group.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this episode with anyone who might be interested in KULR.
Yes, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next insightful discussion. Until then, happy investing.
It really is a fascinating company.
It is, and I think we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to uncover.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, KULR Technology Group, it's a company that's definitely pushing the boundaries of innovation.
Yeah,
But they're also operating in a really complex and competitive environment.
for sure.
So ultimately, it's up to each individual investor to decide if KULR is the right fit for them.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to do your research.
Right.
Really dig into the information and make sure you understand the risks as well as the potential rewards.
Absolutely. And hopefully our conversation today has helped shed some light on KULR and given you some things to think about.
I hope so.
So what's your take on KULR's future? Do you think they'll be able to overcome these financial hurdles?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yes, we want to hear from you.
We always love hearing from our listeners.
Absolutely. So be sure to subscribe to our channel
And share this episode with anyone who might be interested in QLR.
and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode of Investing Talk Podcast. Until then, happy investing.